Okay, before we get started, I wanted to show you where to find this. So if you go into your content library here, this is in Big Ideas, Spyro 2 Big Ideas. Now this here, shrink that up for you, right? This is everything I just did here, and will be on yours. That's looking into the future, right? Then there's a different answer key if you don't want it so spirally. And here is your spiral test, and here is the solutions down here with a little more explanation. Okay. If you want to rewatch the video, you can Google September 25th, September 25, period 2. Okay. Okay, so we're getting ready for the Spyro 2 test. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over the typical example, then we'll pause the video, and then you do the try my own. Then when the class is done, try my own, you'll play the video, I'll go through the answer, then we'll go on to the next one. Okay? And we're going to look to get done. How many of these? We're going to look to get done about 7 of these today. Okay? So, here we go. So, Ferd's back. So, Ferd purchases a sweater that is on sale. He pays this price, including 13% tax. If the discount on the sweater is 20%, what is the original price of the sweater? So, if we think about it, when we do tax, we times the price by 1.13. But we want to go backwards. So we're going to use divide. And this is going to be my symbol for divide today. Yeah, that's going to be my symbol for divide by 1.13. And that is going to equal 2272. If I can alter that, 2272. So the price before tax is 2272. Now we know that price was the price with the 20% discount, right? So to do the 20% discount, we would have times it by either 0.8 to get the price, or times it by 0.2, then added that to the original price. But since we want to go backwards, we're going to go and times it by 1.2. So as in 20% discount plus the original price. And this will give us the price before the discount was put on. So that means the original price of the sweater was $27.30. So therefore, price of the sweater was $27.30. Okay. So if we look back here, to go backwards, instead of doing times, we're doing divide, right? So we're dividing it by 1.13 to get back to the price before the sales tax. Then, instead of timesing it by 0.2 to find how much was taken off, we times by 1.2 to find, to put back on that 20%. That 1 in both of these questions just keeps the original price there and then either adds or takes it off. Okay? Because we could have done divide by 0.13, then subtracted that number off of the original total. But this just takes away that one step. So whoever's in charge of the video right now, if you can pause it, and the class with your partner attempt to do this question here. Okay, so we're back. So Ferd's record collection increases in value by 15% each year. If the current value of the record collection is $435, what was the value last year? So this looks a lot like our question back here. We're going back in time, right? If I told you what's the value next year, you would multiply by 1.15. But in this case, we are going to divide by 1.15. So our original cost is 435, and then we're going to divide by 1.15, and that is going to equal 378.26. Right? So then, to get full communication marks, right, we write, therefore, the record collection was worth 378.26 1 year ago. All right, back down here. So that's an example of percent questions. Now we're doing exponent law. Now mine are not as nicely written as yours, my photocopy. So we have AB to the power of, let's draw this in here, 3, a to the 2, and this is to the 4, 2, 5, and 7. And 7. Okay. So with any question like this, I want you to do of course, BEDMAS. We're going to do brackets first, exponents, everything like that. But also do the top first and do the bottom before you do this division part. Okay? So let's do the top here. The first thing that needs to happen is we need to take care of this exponent, slash bracket. So we have a power to the power, so we're going to take this power in to both spots here. Right? And a power to the power you multiply. So right now I have a to the 1, I'll put a 1 there, b to the 3, then I'll leave the bracket here because it's going to be multiply. 4 times 2 is going to be a to the 8. 4 times 1 is going to be b to the 4. Right? And then on the bottom here, there's only one b down here, so you know it's going to be b to the 7. But we have two a's, and they're multiply. A2 times A5, and we're going to add those up. So that's going to equal a to the 7. Now let's continue up high here, right? So we have a multiply. So multiply is addition. So let's look at the a's. We have 1 and 8 here, and they're going to add up to 9. And we have 3 and 4, and those are going to add up to 7. And I still have my A7, B7. Then we have a division, and divisions are subtracting. So right now we have A9, A7, so 9 minus 7 is going to be A squared. And we have b to the 7, b to the 7, so 7 minus 7 is going to be equal b to the 0. And anything to the power of 0 equals 1. Right? Now we don't have to leave that in there because anything times 1 is itself, so a squared times 1 is just going to be a squared. So whoever's in charge of the video, pause the video, and we'll get started on this one when everyone is done. I'm just going to fix this right now. So this question looks very familiar, just like the one previous. So let's take a look at the brackets here first. So it's exponent, so it's a power of a power. So we're going to rainbow in here. Now we're left with, out front here, we have x squared. Let's make that a full x, y. And let's have our bracket here. Power of power is a multiplication again. So 2 times 2 is x4. 2 times 1 is y2. All over, oh, I was going to make a different number. Let's make an x out of that. And y. Now we have multiplication here again. So we're going to add this up. So x squared plus x squared times x4 is going to be x to the 6. And y to the 1 and y to the 2 is going to be y3. And we still have x cubed and y down here. Now we have division, which is subtracting. So 6 minus 3 is going to be 3. And 3 minus 1 is going to be 2. And like that, we have the final answer. So, expanding. So we have to expand this bracket. So we're going to rainbow in this. And the key thing to remember here is that numbers times numbers, letters times letters. Okay? So if we start here, 4 times 3 is going to be 12. Now again, we have multiplication of a base with an exponent. So we just did multiplication up here. We add them. So it's going to be x, and 2 plus 2 is going to be 4. Now 4 times negative 5 minus 20. There's a 1 there. Add the exponents. x2 plus x1 is going to be x to the 3. Then we have 4 times 1. We have 4. Now there's no x here. So we're just going to bring over this x squared. So there's nothing to add it to. The x squares stay the same. Let's take a peek if we have to collect like terms. These are all different bases. So all have x's with different exponents. So there's no like terms to be collected. So we're all done. So pause her up, and then you can do this, and we'll take it up in a couple seconds. So we're looking here, numbers times numbers, letters times letters, and we're going to rainbow in. The key to remember here is we have a number in front of here. It's not written down, so it's implied to be a 1. So 1 times 3, 3. m4 times m squared. We're going to add those exponents. So we're going to have m to the 6. 1 times negative 2 minus 2. m4 times m. I'll put a 1 there to remind us. 4 plus 1 is going to be m5. 1 times 8. Oh, 1 times negative 8 is 8. And then m4, there's nothing there, so we're just going to continue that this way. And away we go. No like terms, since all the exponents are different. So that's our final answer. All right. So we need to show that x is equal to negative 9. All right. So we're going to go left side versus right side here. So I'm going to draw a line straight down the middle. And we're going to figure out what the left side versus right side is. So I'm going to go 2, and where the x is, let's just do this up first. Minus 8. So where the x is, that's where I'm going to put the negative 9. Alright. So 2 times negative 9 is going to be negative 18 minus 8, and that is going to equal negative 26. Remember, a negative and a negative, it's not multiplication here, so a negative is going to get more negative when you minus more off it. So my left side is going to equal, let's go LS for left side, is going to equal negative 26. So if this answer is correct, as in the answer is negative 9, this opposite side should be the same. So xi, plus 1. Okay, oops, that's times 1, plus 1. Then we're going to substitute in that negative 9, plus 1. 3 times negative 9 is going to be negative 27, plus 1 equals negative 26. So since we have the left side equal the right side, we know that, instead of writing therefore and having you guys watch me every time, I'm just going to go TF. So we have left side equals right side. Therefore, x equals negative 9. So we know that. So pause the video. When everyone's done, we'll check this out. I'll give you a hint first. Draw that line. Okay, pause it now. So, here we go. Let's make that smaller so it doesn't interfere with me. So we have the left side is 4x minus 5. And x, they say, is negative 8. So let's test her out. So 4 times 8 minus 5. 4 times 8 is going to be 28 minus 5. And that's going to equal 23. So let's take a peek and see if our left side's actually going to equal our right side. So we have 2x plus 11. I should say right side here, so we have it down. Then we have 2 times 8 plus 11. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 11. So our answer is going to be, let's press equal and let the computer do it. 27. So therefore, left side equals right side. Therefore, x is equaling 8. All right, so let's go down to the next question. All right, now we have to solve for the variable here. Okay, solve for the variable, yeah. So, 2 bracket x minus 4 over 3 equals negative 4 bracket x plus 2. So first thing I'd like to do is get rid of these denominators, right? So how do we do that? Well, it's a division, the easy way to get rid of it is multiply the top by the denominator. Multiply the whole thing by denominator, right? So if I multiply this by 3, that's going to end up being 3 divided by 3, right? Which will just cancel out and create a 1. So we've got rid of this, but we can't do something on the one side without doing the other side. So let's multiply this side by 3. All right, and then we want to get rid of this 5, so let's multiply this side by 5. 5 divided by 5 equals 1. Those are going to cancel out, but I have to do it to the other side. So that leaves me with 5 outside of 2 bracket x minus 4, and I gotta do double brackets there, which therefore equals, I'll bring that 3 over because that's where we usually see it, negative 4 bracket x plus 1. So what I usually like to do here, makes it a little simpler for me, is I'll take these in, I'll rainbow this in here, right? Now I only rainbow to the bracket it's beside here, right? So it's going to be 5 times 2. It's not 5 times 2 and then also 5 times x and 5 times negative 4. This here is only going into this spot here. I can't jump a bracket. So that leaves me with 5 times 2 is going to be 10 outside of x minus 4, which equals 3 times negative 4 is going to be negative 12, bracket x plus 1. So now I'm here. So then we're going to bracket again. Rainbow in again. Rainbow slash distribute. We're going to distribute the 10 and negative 12 throughout the brackets. So 10 times, if we remember here, there's a 1 in front of these, right? So 10 times x is going to equal 10x minus 10 times 4, which is going to be 40, equals negative 12 times x is going to be negative 12x minus 12. Now, I have to isolate the x's, the variables on one side, numbers on the other side. So I like to leave the biggest variable to its side. So that's the 10. So we're going to bring this over here, and we're going to bring the 40 over this side. Right? Variables on one side, numbers on the other side. So that's going to equal, let's leave the 10x over here, that was already over here. So we have 10x. Now it's a negative 12 right now here. So when it comes over, it's going to be a plus 12x equals, and I already have the negative 12 over here, so I'm going to put negative 12. Now this was a negative on this side, so it's going to become a positive. So 10x plus 12x, that's going to equal 22x equals 40 minus 12 is going to be 28. Positive 28. Now, I need to get rid of this 22. I just want x all by itself. So right now it's 22 times x. So how I get rid of that is I'm going to divide this side by 22 and this side by 22, which will leave me, these are going to cancel out, which will leave me at x equals 28 over 22. Now I can always reduce this, right? So if I take a look and I say, okay, 2 goes into both of those, or I can make it a mixed fraction. So I know I'm going to have 1, and so if I take 22 off of it, I'm going to have 6 over 22 left, which then I can even reduce more to get 1 and, oops, got an equal sign. Now 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 22 11 times. So there's my most reduced fraction possible. Okay. Or I could also answer if I want to leave it as improper. Let's see if I can get a line up here. I'll go down 1. You can go x equals 14 over 11. So there's 2 possible answers here in reduced form. So slide over, away you go. So hopefully you pause the video. I forgot to tell you. If not, pause it now. So we need to get rid of the denominators. So we times it by whatever the denominator is on this side. We multiply this side by that. Those cancel out. Whatever we need to do to one side, we do to the other. Now this side here, we need to get rid of this. So we're going to multiply this side by 2, which will cancel out. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. And then we're left with a 2 over here. So let's change this font a little bit so it's a little bit smaller so we can fit more in. So right now we have 2 bracket 2 bracket 2x minus 1 equals 5 bracket negative 3 bracket x minus 2. Double bracket there, and I forgot a double bracket there. You guys can all calm down about getting a buff because I caught my air. So, where'd my mouse go? We rainbow in here. We rainbow in here, which will give us 4 bracket 2x minus 1 equals negative 15 bracket x minus 2. And then we rainbow in again. Rainbow in, rainbow in, rainbow in, rainbow in. Okay. So that will give us 8x minus 4 equals, oops, negative 15x. Negative times the negative is going to be a positive 30. Now this is my big X over here, so we're moving this way. We're going to move this over here. So I like to write down what's already over there. So 8x is already over there, and then we're going to bring over the negative 15, so it's going to become positive. And then we have the 30, which is already over here, and we're bringing over the 4, which was negative, so it's going to turn positive. Now if we put those together, we're going to have 23x equal to 34. And then we have to divide to get rid of this. Divide this by 23. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Those are going to cancel, and I'm left with gotta go one down here. X equals 34 over 23. Now we can't reduce that any further. Now, if I'm going too quick, of course, pause it before. So now we have here, we're on to some measurement. So a cone has a volume of 300 centimeters cubed and a height of 15. Find the radius. So what I like to do with these questions is I write down what I know. Right, so I know the volume equals 300. For right now, I'm not going to include the measurement totals because I've run into different questions. So height is equal to 15. If we take a look at my formula is, for a cone, volume equals pi r squared times height divided by 3. Okay? Divided by 3. So the only thing I'm missing here is radius, and that's what I need to find out. So radius is my question mark. So let's rearrange this formula so I just get radius all by itself. So the first thing I need to do, and I'll change colors here, is I need to get rid of this 3. Now this 3 right now is a divide. So to get rid of a divide, I make it a multiply. Multiply this side, looks very familiar. That's going to cancel out. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Right? So now I have 3v equals pi r squared times height. Now to get the r by itself, I need to get rid of here and here. So let me divide, because those are all multiplied. It's pi times r squared times h. So let me divide this here. And those are going to cancel out, but I can't do one side if I don't do the other. Pi h. Good. So I have now 3v pi h equals r squared. I'm going to leave that r squared up there for right now, and I'm going to plug in everything I know. Let's go back to red here. So what do I know? 3 is just a number. I'm going to times by 300 because that's my volume. Then my pi is pi. I'm not going to write out the whole thing. And h is 15. So times 15. Right? Equals r squared. Now, if I take a peek at that, if I do that math here, if I plug that in my calculator, I'm going to get 19 approximately, right? So, but I don't have r yet. I have r squared. So what's the opposite of a square? Is I'm going to take the square root of both sides, right? And the square root of r squared is going to be r, and the square root of 19 is going to be 4.4, and that would be centimeters. And for those paying attention, on Monday or on Tuesday when I see you, if you can tell me what centimeters cubed is also equal to, there'll be a boff in it for you. All right, so therefore, my value of r is 4.4. So pause it here, and away you go to find this. So a cylinder has a base of 200, a volume of 250. Let's go volume equals 250. And a height equaled 18. So let's write out my formula for a cylinder. Volume equals pi r squared h. Now I'm looking for my radius, right? That's what I'm looking for. So let's isolate r. So right now I have pi times r squared times h. These are multiplications, so to get rid of them, we need to do the opposite, which is divide. And what we do to one side, we do to the other side. Cancel out, cancel out. So now we have v over pi h equals r squared. So let's plug in what we know. We know that's 250. We know this is pi times 18 equals r squared. Now if we plug all that into a calculator, we get r squared equals 4.4. Of course, I'm just going to one decimal place or so because my writing is messy already. Now we have r squared. So to get rid of that r squared, the opposite of a square is a square root. We take the square root of both sides. And that will give me my square root of r squared is r equals 2.1. And that's going to be centimeters. So now we turn from volume to surface area. All right. So here we have a triangular prism. All right. So you should be looking at your Notes to Your Future Self, or the formula sheet that I gave you. And actually I took it away, so don't look at that unless you stole it from me. And if we take a look at our formula sheet, the equation looks like this. Okay, don't fall asleep on me as I do this. SA equals AH plus... Actually, let's not do that. I want you to think about it logically here. What I want you to do is you unfold this to make a shape. Right? So we're going to unfold this shape. It's going to look like this, this. There we go. Beautiful. Now let's take a look at what we know. We know this is 15 from right here. We know the height here is 12. And we know this base here is 10. What we don't know is this part right here. These sides. Okay? Which would be this side and this side. Right? We don't know those. Because if we look here, if we find the area of this rectangle, that rectangle, and add up these two triangles, we know that's going to be our surface area, right? But we don't know this part and this part. But if we look here, this draws a horrible way with, let's try that again. That did not work with that pen. Let's use the marker. We'll use blue. This here makes a right angle triangle, right? So if we have a triangle here, a right angle triangle, where we know the height is 12, and the base all the way across is 10, right? So the whole base is 10, so half of that is going to be 5. Now we'd also label this as a right angle triangle. This could be my C side, my A side, and my B side. And we could do Pythagorean theorem to find what that missing side is. So C squared equals 12 squared plus 5 squared, which equals 144 plus 25. I'll write it down. It'll be painful. I'll write it down here. And that's going to equal 169. And that's C squared. So now to get the opposite of a square is the square root. Square root both sides. C is going to equal, what is it, 13. Right? Trust. Where'd my calculator go on this one? All right, let's make sure about that. $13 squared, 169. Good. So that's going to be our C side. Now we know that's 13. So the way I think about this is you have, let's mark these. I have two of these triangles, so two of those rectangles, one of those, and two of these. So let's start with this. So this is going to be length times width, right? And this is 13 times 5. 13 times 15. So 13 times 15 equals 208. 208, and I have two of those, right? So I'm going to times that by 2. So 416. Not just a cool place to live, but an answer to a math question. Then we have one blue one. Let's dot that one blue. The one blue one, we have length times width again. And that is going to be, what's the shape of that one? That's 10 times 15. 10 times 15, which is going to equal 150. There's only one of those. Then we have our triangles, which is half base times height. Let's dot those green for lack of a better term here. Here's your green. And so half times the base is 10 and the height is 12. So 120, 10 times 12 is 120, divide that by 2. It's going to give us 60. And we have two of these, right? Let's move that answer up. So the answer is going to be 60, but we have two of those triangles. So the answer here is going to be 120. And to get the total, we're going to add all those up. So 400, 500, 600 plus 50 plus 20 is 70, 80, 86. Meters squared. It's 13. Okay. Now the surface area for this, we have the radius is this. And we know the surface area formula equals pi 4 pi r squared. So it equals 4 times pi times 8 squared. So I'm going to equal, let's go over my calculator, 4 times pi times 8 squared equals, and I know that Laura / Colby / Frankie already has this written down, it's 804 centimeters squared. Good. So you guys pause it here, and I want you to work on these two. Okay, so if we take a look at this first one, we have, if we take a look at the measurements here, our length is going to equal 10, our width is going to equal 4, and our height is going to equal 4. All right. I'm going to type this in so it might be a little bit simpler. Change it, get our font shrunken up here. So, surface area is going to equal 2 times width height plus length width plus length height. So you're pretty much doing is you're taking this side, and the bottom, and you're going to times by 2 because this side has a partner on the back side, this part has a partner on the other end, the bottom has a partner up top. So let's plug in our numbers. And it's nice to write down what everything means because I'm going to leave the surface area out because hopefully this will do my math for me. All right. So 2 times my width is 4, and then my height is 4. And if you have this all written out, you can just look up at it right now. So as I look up, I know this is 10, that's 4. I'm going to add on another 10, another 4, and hopefully, if I press spacebar here, it's going to punch out the exact number of 192. Well, it didn't. What do you know? So, if we do all this calculation here, it'll pop out as 192 centimeters squared. Okay. Marker out. Good. And that being our width and height and everything. All right, so let's take the bottom one here. So we have to figure out what form we're going to need. The formula was surface area equals pi rs plus pi r squared. So what do we know here? We know the whole diameter here is 14. So if the diameter equals 14, our radius is going to equal 7. Now we know the height here is 24. So if we look through here, we know what pi is. We know what our radius is. What's this S thing hanging around here? The S is the slant of this. And we don't need height, but we can use that height to make a triangle here, a nicely drawn 90-degree triangle, to find what the slant is. So I'll scroll down here and we'll do a calculation for slant. So if we look in triangle here, Pythagorean theorem, we could name this C if we're comfortable with that. So C squared is going to equal, that's an A squared plus B squared. Right? Now, we know our radius is 7, so that's going to be our A, and we know the height is 24. If we plug that into our calculators, we get 625. 625, c squared equals that. So to get the opposite of a square, we square root, c equals 25. So now we know what c equals. In that case, we know what slant equals. So our slant equals 25. So let's start plugging everything in here. And of course, I don't have a symbol, I believe, for pi, so I'm just going to write 3.14 times our radius, which is 7, times our slant, which is 25, plus pi, which is 3.14, times our radius, which is 7, and we will square that. So I know that my surface area altogether, if I run those numbers, is going to be 703.7 millimeters squared. And let's get lazy with this one and just draw. Write it in there. Surface area equals. There we go. 2 more questions left. And then I can give you your nice holiday homework. So we're going on to optimizing rectangles. Ferd is back. Ferd has a lot of time on his hands. So Ferd has 400 meters of fencing. That can use a fence in a garden against a shed. What are the dimensions give him the maximum area? So if we remember back, if we have a shape like this, the best shape we get is with a width here, and a length that is twice our width, right? Because it's against a shed here. So what's the maximum dimension that goes to the maximum area? So let's find out what one width is, right? So if we were creating a box, we would have a W, a W, a W, and a W, 4 widths. So we can take that 400, and if we were making a box, we would divide it by 4. Divided by 4, which is going to equal 100. Which tells me if I was making a box, one width would be 100 meters. So that equals W. Now if we take a look at our box right now, we have one width here, so that's going to be 100. One width over here, so that's going to be 100. And we have 2 widths. So 2 times W is going to be 200. So there are our best dimensions to get the largest area possible. So paws are up, and away we go. Ferd either has too much fencing or too many animals, and he's building another fence. Same idea. 3-sided. So we have a width, and a 2 width. And this time we have 280 meters of fence. Right? If we think back to our box, we would get 4 W's out of this. So let's divide this number by 4. And that is going to equal 70, I believe, but let's check my calculator before I make a mistake. And that equals 70. So one width equals 70. That is a horrible W. Take that away. Good. So that will now equal, if I go here and make my shed over again, if I have one width on this side, it's going to be 70. If I have one width on this side, it's going to be 70. Now if I have two widths, 2 times 70 is 140. Right, on to our last question. A container has a surface area 300 centimeters square. What's the highest volume that it can contain? So this is kind of combining optimization and now prisms. So if we think back, the optimal space, two-dimensional, was a square. So if we think three-dimensional, the optimal space will be a cube, right? So we're going to make a cube here. And if I could draw a cube, I'd be much better at art. But I can't. So that's why I don't like art. So if you think about here, a cube will have the same sides all the way around, right? So a width and a length will all be equal all the way around. And if you unfurl this, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, right? So the surface area of the cube is going to be length times width of one side, right? So length times width. And since all the sides of the cube are the same, it's going to be 6 length times width. But we also know length and width are the same. So that's a 6, not a B. So let's rename this. Length equals width. So let's rename them S for sides. Okay. Equals, so length times width, or S times S. S times S is going to be S squared. Right? So we can kind of have our formula here. Our surface area, and what did I do there? I have no clue. Surface area equals 6S squared. And we know our surface area is 300. Equals 6. I'm going to make a 6 here that looks like 6 one day. 6x squared. So now, to get rid of the 6, we divide by 6. These will cancel out. Equals 50. S squared. So how do we get rid of a square? We take the square root of it. So S is going to equal 7.1. Right? So then we take a look at the formula for volume. So volume of a cube is length times width times height. Length, width, height. And we know a side is equal to all this, right? It's because it's a perfect cube. The length is going to equal 7.1. The width is going to be 7.1. And the height is going to be 7.1. So let's just rename that S cubed, right? Because it's going to be 7.1 times 7.1 times 7.1. So we write 7.1 cubed. And then you're going to do it 3 times. So the volume of that shape is going to be 357.9, so let's go to 358 centimeters cubed. Right. If you wanted to go from here to 7.1 times 7.1 times 7.1, that's also fair to say. You'll get the same answer down here. Okay. Away you go. You guys work on this. Pause her up, and I'll be right back. So a container has a volume of 512. What is the smallest possible surface area? So we're working the exact opposite way as we did in the previous question because we're going from volume to surface area. So if we take a look at the equation next to us here, volume equals length times width times height. And we know the optimization of a area is going to be a square. So we can go volume equals S cubed because we know that all these are going to be the same. So volume equals S cubed. Now we know that the volume is 512 equals S cubed. Now just as the opposite of a square was a square root, the opposite of a cubed is the cubed root. And you'll find it on your calculator because it will have a 3 right here. So we're finding out what number times itself 3 times equals 512. Now you might also have something that looks like this. Sometimes it's X, like this. So you have to hit the button 3, then hit that button, and then hit your number. In this case, you type in 512. So the third root is 8. That would be centimeters. So 8 times 8 times 8 is 512. Then if we go back over here and we say, okay, what's the formula for surface area of a perfect cube? Is going to be length times width times 6, or 6 times S squared. Right? So surface area equals 6. Am I going to get a 6 that looks like a 6? S, sorry, not S squared, my fault. S cubed. Oh no, I was right the first time. S squared. I found my error. No boss for anyone. So we know that our side is 8. So we're going to go 8 squared. So we're going to do that first. It's going to be 6 times 64, which equals 384 centimeters squared. There we go. So, question here, we have find the value of x on the diagram shown here. The shape is a regular hexagon. So if you remember what regular means, it means that all these angles are the same. So that's 2x plus 5, therefore this is 2x plus 5. Let's make that smaller. And so on and so forth, right? So let's figure out how much angle's in here. So if we remember, our interior angle is going to be n minus 2 times 180. Okay, so if we count here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. So that is going to equal bracket 6 minus 2 times 180. Okay, and that's going to equal 4 times 180, which equals 720. So we know that our whole angle is 720. So if we go down here, now we know that we have 6 sides, so we have 6 angles of 2x plus 5. And we know that all equals 720. Therefore, we have to rainbow in this number here to expand the bracket. And that will give us 12x plus 30 equals 720. Now we have to isolate the x value. So we're going to take the 30 over here, and it's a plus on one side, so it's going to become a negative on the other. So 720 minus 30, which equals 12x, equals 690. Right? So now we have the 12 here. We just want x all by itself, so we're going to divide each side by 12. Now if we plug that into our calculator, we get x equal to 57.5 degrees. Okay. So, a little reminder how to do that. So you guys can go ahead and pause the video now. So, take a look at this question. We have an exterior angle here and two interior angles. And if we remember, this angle here is equal to this angle plus this angle. To link this together, the three angles of the triangle, 1, 2, 3, 1 plus 2 plus 3, are going to equal 180. As will a straight line here, right? So if that equals 180 altogether, and this equals 180, this angle plus that angle equals 180, this angle plus these two angles equal 180, therefore these two are equal. So let's start her up here. So we know those are equal, so let's write down the exterior one first. So 8x plus 20 equals, we'll start with this one here, 3x plus 15 plus 90 degrees. Right? So first step, we have to expand this bracket out. So let's rainbow in, and we get 8x plus 20 equals 3x plus 45 plus 90. All right. Let's collect like terms here. So we have 8x plus 20 on this side equals 3x, and we're going to combine these two together. So that's going to be plus 135. Now, I like to keep the largest x where it is, so I'm going to leave that one there. I'm going to bring over this x. So it's a plus on this side, so when it comes over, it's going to be a minus. That's where I get 3x from, equals 135 is already there. So if I want to have a plus 20 over here, so I want to bring it over, it's going to become a minus 20. Minus 20 here. Of course, I made a new box for some reason, so let's delete that. Let's see if we can get back in here. Minus 20. So I'm going to get 5x equal to 115. And as we did over on the other side, we need this, so we're going to divide by 5 on this side, divide by 5 on this side, and that will give me an x equal to 23 degrees is my answer. Okay. So, would you pause here for a second? Pause it if you need to write it down. Once everyone's got it written down, we'll go on to this one here. Now we're looking at slope here. Zoom in some more. So we need to find the slope of this. Right? So slope of these two things. So let's assume here, since it's kind of foggy, we are going to go up here. And let's say that each one of these marks is worth 2, for lack of a better term. So this will be 2, this will be 4, this will be 6. This will be 2, this will be 4, 6, 8, 10. All right. So let's do a little rise over run. Right. So rise over run is what we're looking at here. So if we take a look at the rise here, we have a rise starting here. It goes here. So that's going to be -5 on the way down. All right. So here. So my rise is going to be -5 because we're going down. And my run is going to be all the way this way. So So we're going up in numbers, and we're going all the way to 10. So it's going to be positive 10. And we know we can reduce that, because 5 goes into both of those. So we're at negative 1 over 2. So therefore our slope, remember our slope is m, not capital M, it just likes to capitalize stuff. Right. So that's how we do slope on a graph, rise over run. Let's just put 10 down there to make it copacetic. Now, if we take a look here, we have 2 points to find the slope of. So if you remember, when we have 2 points, we use delta y over delta x. And that is similar to y2, y1 over x2 minus x1. Right? So let's name our points. Let's name this one x1, y1, and x2, y2. Sorry for the long strain there, just want to make sure it's different. So if we take a look at this, we have negative 1. Oh, let's move that down a little bit, and let's make this font nice and small. But minus 2 over 1 minus negative 3. Okay? So this is going to equal negative 1 minus 2 is going to equal negative 3. And that's going to be over negative 1 minus negative 3. So that's going to turn into a plus. Here. 2 negatives make a positive. So we're going to get a 4. So our slope of m, our slope is going to be negative 3 over 4. So let's go over here. I'll take a look at this graph here. In this case, it didn't come through. That there is a 4, and that is a 12. Okay? And then we have this here. So pause it here, and I'll let you finish off your steps. So if we take a look at this one, we're looking for rise over run, right? Just like we did next door. So rise over run. And if we look here, our rise is going up 4, and our run is 12. Okay. Now you might ask, I have no Cartesian plane here, so how do I know which way it's going? Right? Well, if I look, the slant is going upwards. So I'm going to, since the slant's going up from left to right, we're going to consider it positive. Now we can reduce this, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. Reduce it to 1 over 3. And there's our answer. Now this one here. Now, we can take a peek at this first and see if we have first differences that are equal. Right? So the first difference here is 6. And the first difference here is 10. Now, we have to make sure that these also go up by the same rate. So this here is a difference of 3. And this here is a difference of 6. Oh, sorry, 5. Right? Now we can take a look here for rise over run. There we go, okay. 6 over 3 is 2, and 10 over 5 is 2. So we could do this just looking at it here, comparing these two items, right? Since it's a straight line, 6 over 3 to 10 over 5 to. Or we could do the delta y over delta x, right? And if we take a look at this, if we consider this 0.2 and 0.1, 0.1 and 0.2 here, we're going to get the exact same thing. So it's going to be 10 minus 4 over 2 minus negative 1. So that's going to equal 6 over 3. since two negatives make a positive, which is going to equal 2. And the same thing's going to happen on the other side, where we have 20 minus 10 over 7 minus 2, which is going to equal 10 over 5, which equals 2. All right, so once everyone's got that down, you can advance to the next one. I'm going to do this one in blue. So a line through this point here with a slope of -3, and we can always add the one over here. So first thing we do is we graph the point. In this case, the point is -2, 5. So we go in the house, -2, and then we're going up 5. So 1, 2, and up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll put a dot right there. Put a nice thick dot. Good. Then my slope is -3 over 1. So -3, I'm going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go down 1 here. Okay, and there's my line. And I'm going to do my best possible graph here. So graph the point, then the slope. All right, and let's change to, well, those are plenty of options. Let's go green for this one. Green for this one here. So we have a slope here, and we have our b here. So b equals, and you can think about it the same way, where b is just a point. Just like this here is a point. This is just a point. So it tells me b is at -1. So that means that the y-intercept, this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis. The y-intercept's at -1, so I'm going to go right here. Then my slope is -2 over 3. So I'm going to start by going down 2, 1, 2, over 3, 1, 2, 3. And there I go, through those 2 points. And there's my line. All right. Remember, if it is negative slope, you have a line that is going to go downwards, right? Negative slope. A negative m is going to go downwards. Positive m is going to go upwards. All right. So pause it here. I'll let you do the next question. Graph the point first. 3, 0. So in the house 3, 1, 2, 3, up 0. So our point's going to go right there. Now we start from the point. Our slope is 2 rise, right, over our run. So 2 up, 1, 2, 3 across, 1, 2, 3. And there's my point right there. And away we go. All right. Let's go back to green for the next one. It's in y equals mx plus b. So here is our b, and here's our m. And remember, there's a 1 underneath that. So our b is -4. So let's take a peek here. Go -4 down the y-axis. Y and x. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And our slope is 2 over 1. So up 2, 1, 2 over 1. It's going to cross into that line. And we make a nice straight line like so. That was my worst line yet. Try to make a better line than I did. All right, so we'll pause it here until everyone's got that done. Then we're on to the next question. So, write the equation of a line with, this is our original. So write the equation of a line with y equals -2 plus 6. The same slope as same slope as the same vertical intercept as this. All right, so we're supposed to use this line here to start, okay? So we have to adjust this line to match this. And the thing we're trying to match here has the same vertical intercept point, okay? Or in other terms, let's take away this line and just write y. So the same y-intercept, right? So all we're going to do is we're going to keep this part, and we're going to add that part. Okay? So that's going to equal y equals negative 2 over 3 x minus 8. And we are done. Okay. So now for this question here, we have to write this equation of a line. Okay? So we're trying to get to y equals mx plus b for any equation of a line. That's what we're aiming to get. Okay? And the two things we have to get are the m and the b. That's what we're trying to fill in. So our very last line is going to be y equals blank x plus blank. So we have 2 points here. So we can't find the y-intercept using 2 points, but we can find the slope. Let's label this as 0.1, 0.1, and this will be 0.2, 0.2. So we're going to use delta y over delta x. So that's going to equal 21 minus 6 over 8 minus negative 5. 21 minus 6 is going to be 15. And then 8 minus negative 5 is going to turn into a plus, which is going to be 13. So that's our slope. Okay. Now we have this. So we can plug this in here if we really want to. Let's write 15 over 13. Now we still need this part. Okay. But we have points and we have an m. So we can write down our equation of line, mx plus b. We're going to plug in everything we know, and I'm going to use this point here as my point. So y we know is 6. That's not a b, it's a 6. M is 15 over 13. And our x here, we're going to take is negative 5. Plus, the only thing we don't know is b. All right? So we can picture this as having 1 over top of 2. So 6 equals 13 times 1 is just going to be 13. 15 times 5 is going to be 75. 75 plus b. All right? Then we are going to minus, we're going to move this over, it's going to become a minus, right? So we have 6, that's a horrible 6, minus 75 over 13. Now we need that 6 to have a common denominator here, so we need to times that 6 by 13. 13 times 6. Okay? So 13 times 6 is going to equal 78. So we're going to change that to 78 over 13 minus 75 over 13, which equals b. All right, and that will equal 75 minus 78 is 3 over 13. So we can fill in our last line here. Oh, that's a plus. My bad. I just realized I made a mistake. Whoever is yelling at the screen gets a buff when I get back tomorrow. Okay. So 75 plus is going to be 153. over 3. So 1, 5, 3 over 3. And that is my final answer. Right there. Ta-da! The big thing there is when you bring it over, you have to have the denominators the same, so you just can't add. It's back to fractions. Okay, I'll let you guys take on this one, pause it, and away you go. So this question here is saying you have a slope of -2 point. So this is our x, this is our y. Okay, so our y point is 7. So we have, we'll write this down, y equals mx plus b, y equals 7, which is equal to -2 times 2 plus b. So 7 equals -4 plus b. Now we have to move that over, right? So if it's negative on one side, it's going to be positive on the other. So I get 7 plus 4 equals b. Therefore 11 equals b. Now we have our b. We have our b value here. And we have our slope value. So we have everything we need for equation line. So let's go y equals -2, as in our slope, x plus 11. And there's my answer. Then this one looks just like the one next to us. We just did in the other one. So this is our point x1, y1, x2, y2. So we take a peek here. We have delta y over delta x. I'll write that down. So this is what we're using, delta y, delta x, which equals -4 minus 5 over -1 minus 2. Underline these here, so it looks like it. So -4 minus 5 is going to be -1. -1, and it's going to be -3. If we remember, a negative over a negative is a positive. So it's going to end with 1 over 3 is my answer. Oh, I messed up again. It's -9. Right? -4, -5, -9. So that's equal 3 once I reduce it. I'm slipping. It's getting late here. So now we know our m. Now we need to find our b. So we're going to go back to the question above. Y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to use point 1 because it's positive. I'd rather work with positive numbers. So y value is 5 equals m is 3. We're going to times it by 2. And then we're going to add b to it. That's going to equal 5. That's going to equal 6 plus b. Bring it over. Get 5 minus 6 equals b. So b is going to equal -1. Remember here, we have to bring it over. It does opposite sign. That's how I got -6 here. Now I have my m, I have my b, so then I can just write in my equation. Y equals 3x minus 1. And away I go. So once we're all done that, as I wait for you guys, I'll check the score of the basketball game. And it's currently, at commercials. So parallel and perpendicular lines. So we have equation y equals 2 over 3x. Right. So on our test, we really struggled. I gave you a question that was y equals 5x. And I got a lot of strange answers. I got a horizontal line, I got a vertical line. And if you remember, that's in y equals mx plus b. There just is no b. So therefore, the y-intercept on this one was 0. So I'm going to add that in just for fun, just so I remember. So I need a parallel line to this. So parallel lines have the same slope. So I'm going to start with y equals 2 over 3x. Now, I need a different y-intercept. Since if I had the same y-intercept, it wouldn't be parallel, it would be the same line. So I'm going to put a number down there. I'm going to put 44, because it's my favorite number. Right? So, now, I need a perpendicular line. So if we remember, perpendicular lines have negative reciprocals. A negative reciprocal is where you flip the slope, where you flip and make the sign of the slope opposite of what it is. So it's positive becomes negative, negative becomes positive. So I have y equals here, and I'm going to flip my slope. 2 over 3. I'm going to look at my slope above, and I say it was positive, so I need to go back here and make this one a negative. Then, here, I can make the y-intercept equal to anything possible. It's still going to be perpendicular. So I'm going to make it, since I'm watching LeBron, I'll make it number 23, which I think is his number off the top of my head. Then, I need to make it with the same vertical intercept. So I assume they want the perpendicular one here, because if I had the parallel line with the same vertical intercept, or in our terms here, not vertical, but just if you just consider it y-intercept, you'd have the same line. So let's do the same thing. Y equals, I'm going to have negative reciprocal, 2 over 3x. And if it has the same y-intercept, I can add 0 to it, or just leave it blank. Okay, I'll pause it here, and you guys can work ahead. All right, so given this here, we need something that's parallel. So parallels have the same slope. Let's go y equals negative 1 over 4x. Right? And I need a different y-intercept. So let's go with my favorite number. One of my other favorite numbers is my birthday. It's on the 22nd. Now perpendicular, we need the negative reciprocal of the slope. So let's flip it. 4 over 1. Now, writing 4 over 1 is a little ridiculous, so I can just write 4. And it's negative up there, so it's positive here. And then I can add any number I want to it. And just because I want to work in multiples, I'm going to use 7. It's a prime number, just for fun. But you can put any number there you want. I'll put a blank here, so you know it can be any number. And this one here could be any number, but not 3, not positive 3. So with the same y-intercept here. So let's make first of all, let's make a perpendicular line. So we're going to go back to 4x. And if we take a look at the same y-intercept, it's 3 up there, so it's 3 down here. All right, so get that written down. Away we go. So this is combining two of the last questions. So we need to write an equation for a perpendicular line
So let's solve that first. Perpendicular line, the only thing we're going to change here is the slope. So it's going to be negative reciprocal. So if I have 2 over 1 here, it's going to be 1 over 2 here. And then it's negative here, so it's positive. Okay? Then we need, and it goes through this spot. But we know this spot is x, y points. So then, let's plug it in just as we did above. Y equals mx plus b. So y value here is going to be 0. Our b value is going to be 1/2. And it's going to be times by 4 plus b. Okay, so 0, 0. 1/2 times 4 is going to be 2. Plus b. We move that 2 over. Now, I'm going to get rid of my double equal sign. It's a positive on one side, so it's going to be a negative on the other side. And we can just get rid of the 0 because it doesn't really exist. And away we go. Negative 2 plus b. Therefore, we have our b value and we have our m value. And that's what we need to draw to have equation line. So let's plug everything in. Y equals 1/2 x minus 2. So pause it here, and I'll let you, once everyone's done writing it down, of course, and I'll let you go here. So write the equation line as perpendicular. All right, so let's work with this again. So this is our slope, so let's make a negative reciprocal. So we gotta flip it, 3 over 2, and then it's positive here, so it's going to be negative here. And then we recognize that this is our x value, this is our y value. So let's go through here. Y equals mx plus b. Now let's plug in everything we know again. So 2 equals 6 times, got it in the wrong order, negative 3 over 2 times 6 plus b. So that's going to equal 2 equals, and that's going to equal negative 9. If you plug in your calculator, plus b. The other way you can do it is you can go 3 times 6 is 18, over 2, and 18 divided by 2 is going to be 9. So then we have 2 plus 9 equals b, 11 equals b. Therefore, we have our, once again, we have our b value, and we have our m value. So let's write in our equation. Y equals, our m value is negative 3 over 2 x plus 11. And away we go. Where am I in my sheets? Oh, there I am. Okay. Last question for today, if you've got this far. If you haven't, then you don't hear me talking. Here we go. Let's do this one in blue. X equals 4. So you know this is a special line because it's just x or y equals. So let's first of all go to x equals 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and make a dot. Now what x equals 4 means is no matter where it is on the line here, x is always going to equal 4. And the only way we can do that is if we make a vertical line, like such. Because everywhere up and down here, no matter what the y is, the x is always equal to 4. And y equals negative 2. So let's go y equals negative 2 to start. 1, 2, 3. Now if we think about it, if y equals negative 2, if we went from y equals mx plus b, that's our b value. But the y, the mx disappeared, so that means that had to be 0. So this is going to have no slope. And wherever you're on this line, it's going to be y equals negative 2. So it's a horizontal line. like such. Okay. So head on over and finish these ones off. Now here we go, y equals 5. Right, y equals 5. So let's go first off, mark off y equals 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now wherever on this line, y is equal to 5. So the only way I can do that is if I have a horizontal line, like such. Then a second one here, x equals -3. Let's go to x equals -3. 1, 2, 3. And then make our line as such. It's going to be a vertical line. There you go. So let's take a look at the practice test here. I got you to do 1 through 8 the first time. So your homework tonight would be 9 through 14. Okay, 9 through 14 for tonight. Okay, have yourself a good night.